Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Plugged In with ACDI Energy Services. I'm Zach Parker, and I'm excited to be joined today by ACDI Director of Technology, Seth Ingram. Seth, within the last year, made the switch from gas-powered vehicle to electric vehicle, and today we're going to be asking him a few questions on what his experience has been like, what drew him to the electric vehicle in the first place, and maybe debunking some myths out there that are keeping people from jumping in and making the switch to electric vehicles. So let's grab Seth, let's hop in, and let's see what's happening. All right, Seth, so here we are in your Chevy Bolt, kind of cruising around downtown Benton a little bit. Why don't you start by telling us, when did you get your electric vehicle?
Yeah, so it's been a little over a year now. I think March 2024 is when I started looking and ended up purchasing the Chevy Bolt.
Was the Bolt, kind of obviously, as we know these days, basically every manufacturer has some type of electric option. So was the Bolt something that you were kind of set on from the beginning? Did you consider other electric vehicles? Kind of what was that process like as you were making your final decision?
It probably popped up pretty quick, but there were several different ones. There are several Nissans that I looked at that I really liked. I wanted something, there's kind of these crossovers where it's almost a car, but it just has a little bit of an SUV like setup. This Bolt is the EUV version, so it sits up just a little bit higher, which is nice, but it's still kind of that small form factor of a car. The Bolt really just had a really good price profile for the amount of features and stuff that it get. I found this one, it's the Premier package, so it has the sunroof and some of the other technology stuff. I'm a tech guy. That's part of what drove me toward, this stuff. And so being able to have that technology in it is really important to me.
Take me back to prior to that when you were, deciding to get a new vehicle. What led you to want to make the switch from traditional gas-powered vehicle to fully electric?
Well, I've always been a tech person, so I've kept an eye on these things for a long time, and just the idea of technology and stuff, it's intriguing to me. I always like having new things to play with and do, and
Yeah.
so I've been looking at that for quite a while, just trying to think about and seeing and getting more comfortable with the technology and everything.
Well, I can say as someone who, enjoys taking our Ford Lightning for a spin every opportunity I get, there's certainly a lot of fun that comes with driving an electric vehicle. My favorite part is obviously how quickly they accelerate when compared to gas-powered vehicles. Kind of what's been your favorite part of it, especially as a tech enthusiast like you are?
Yeah, just having all the technology here and everything, and then being able to see like the energy you're using.
Yeah.
One pedal driving, which blows people's mind. That's like one of the biggest things that people have. The idea that you get in there and you push down the pedal and you let it go, it starts automatically braking for you and everything. And I like sound system stuff too. This one up has a nice JBL sound system.
Sure.
Just really straightforward and simple systems, right? It's not super complicated. I get in here and it's still. That's really kind of another factor as well, is that there's other manufacturers out there like Tesla and everything, but they were like a tech company first that made a car, while
Right.
like Chevy is like a car company that has got into the EV business. And I actually like that sometimes. Like it may look cool, like you have your handles you can't even see on a Tesla, but then
Sure.
after a while that novelty goes off. And there's a reason why car handles are the way they are.
Right.
And
Where's the practicality of it?
and so I enjoy the fact that the Chevy, that they're not throwing away the stuff they've learned from hundreds of years of, at
Being
least
in
100
this
plus
space,
years
yeah.
of being in the automotive space.
Of course. Kind of what's your experience been like, as a whole over the last 12, 13 months? I'm sure it's nice to have gone that amount of time without needing an oil change, but, other things like what's been your favorite aspect, maybe something that you didn't expect that caught you off guard or caught you by surprise? Tell us kind of what the experience has been like.
Just the simplicity of it. Honestly, I can go to ACDI, I can get a charge, and once a week, get a charge, and it lasts me the whole time. I don't have to worry about chasing down things. Like the range stuff, I think you're talking about surprise. That's probably one of the biggest things is
Sure.
that like they've got a lot better on the range. Like electric vehicles are for practical, especially the day-to-day that I use, probably 95% of the usage of this vehicle. I have more than enough range. I could charge every day at work if I wanted to, and I really only need to charge like once a week, and so I really have no situation where I feel like I'm worried about jumping up against range issues and stuff. So.
Yeah. You touched on it a little bit, obviously, working at a place like ACDI that offers charging as an amenity certainly comes in handy for someone like yourself. But I'm curious, especially in a place like Benton, like Central Arkansas as a whole, that may not have as many publicly available charging stations as other locations with higher EV adoption. What's your experience with public charging been like here in Central Arkansas?
There's more public charging than you might think. It's just, I was kind of surprised, and even so, both situations of there's charging if you're going to go, like we've actually had a few weekends that we went down to Hot Springs, and there was actually charging available at several of the hotels,
Nice. Yeah.
and even downtown in the historical district there. When I've traveled here within Little Rock as well, there's several places that have. So it's more available than you might think. You still have to look for it. It's not like a gas station where it's on every corner, but it is there. And then, like I said, the range is there way more than you realize. It's not as big of an issue unless you're really just going on a trip. And then it does take a little bit more planning. It's not something that's just so crazy amount more planning, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then, kind of circling back to what we said earlier, obviously ACDI having been in the EV charging space for a few years now, and having two level 2 charging stations at our headquarters, those are available for use for free by any ACDI employee. And we're seeing more and more, businesses offering EV charging at their offices, as an amenity for employees. Being someone that has the opportunity to take advantage of that, what does that do for you as an EV driver? How beneficial is that to have that as a perk at your place of employment?
It's immensely. It's just a convenience because, it takes my vehicle probably on average, probably like 3 or 4 hours to charge because I'm typically not all the way empty. If I was completely down to the bottom, maybe 7 or 8 hours on a level 2 charger. But, that's a work day. Even if I was completely down, I'm sitting there, I work, I come into work, I leave for the day and it's charged, right? So, and that whole time I don't have to think about it, I don't have to worry about it. And so the convenience of that's just so, just helps a lot. I've saved about $1,000 at least on gas, if not more than that. That's a pretty big amount of money. I mean, it's not just a small amount. And so that all adds up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got me sitting here and thinking I need to make the switch, And then just one final question, before we wrap up, as we see year after year, EV adoption continues to rise everywhere, regardless of the state. More and more people are making the switch, much like you did. To anyone out there who may be currently considering making the switch from gas-powered vehicle to fully electric, what would you say to them? What sort of advice would you offer? Maybe questions that you could help answer for them, anything like that maybe you wish you knew about 12, 13 months ago prior to you making the switch.
I would just encourage them to, get a good idea of how they really use their vehicle, because I think there's a lot of people out there that an EV would be perfect for that do have a commute that, even if I had a commute all the way to Little Rock, I think that the fact that, like I said, that charging typically takes less than that work day, it's so easy to do that.
Yeah.
So it can be, and so, but take a look at stuff like for my instance, like I said, I'm not even having to charge every day, so it's I think if people will really look at how they use their vehicles, I think they'd be surprised at how an EV could fit into their, their thing. And my son's still driving my truck that I used to have, and it's nice to have those vehicles. And we have the Lightning there at the office that is a truck that is EV, and that could be an option in the future. But this vehicle has served a really good purpose. We actually typically do family trips, with this vehicle, like at least for shorter, like local trips, and so because it kind of has a good balance of being kind of convenient and being able to comfortable to travel with and all that.
Yeah, for sure. And to your point, I think too often, people get hung up on the range anxiety aspect and oh my gosh, am I going to be stranded without a charge? But much like you're saying, I think if most of us are honest with ourselves and with our situation, I mean, realistically, are any of us driving more than 30 to 50 miles in a day? And that's easy to get on a charge. Even if you don't work somewhere like ACDI, you can charge at your house and get 30 to 50 miles just while you're asleep at night.
Yeah, and like the range now, I mean, this vehicle right here has, I think in a lot of vehicles now, I think it's in that same range. I think you can pay for like an extended range vehicle and everything, but like this has, somewhere between 250 and 300 mile range, depending on but the practical probably is on the lower end, 250, but 250 mile range is quite a bit of range.
Absolutely.
Really. It's like, you could do quite a bit in a day and not hit that. So it really just makes it that much easier.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Seth, thank you so much for the time. Thanks for taking us for a spin and giving us this first-person perspective on what it's like to fully dive in and make the switch from gas vehicle to electric vehicle, and certainly appreciate the time today.
Yeah, no problem.